Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Brown Girls Glow Live. This is the Glow Girl series, okay? And today we are going to be celebrating Women's History Month. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. We are so excited. I am coming out with a new book called Glow Girl: How to Help Teenagers and Empowering Them to Grow, Lead, Overcome, and Win. And guess what? Each week this month, I'm going to be bringing you a phenomenal woman, a phenomenal brown girl that is going to talk about one of each of these topics. So, our first guest is going to be Miss Charmaine Paige, who is going to help us ready, set, grow. All right. So this week is all about growth. Charmaine is going to tell us her story and how to help us grow. So let me just tell you a little bit about Charmaine while she comes up. Okay, I'm going to get her on because I just can't wait. Hey, Charmaine.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Mia. Hey, Brown Girls Glow.
Hey,
Wow.
what's up? What's up? What's up? So I'm so happy to have you on today. And I want to introduce her. So Charmaine is a Brooklyn native and soulful creative dedicated to advocacy, expression, and empowerment. As a labor organizer and community leader, she mobilizes workers to fight for better work conditions while cultivating spaces for healing and self-discovery. She is the host of The Charmaine Show, an Instagram platform created to remind women near and far that there is life after trauma. The platform uses narratives and visual storytelling to inspire resilience and transformation. Through this platform, she celebrates the journey of everyday sheroes, highlighting their story, strength, and triumph. Charmaine is also the founder of the Nurture and Nourish Experience, a gathering where women from all walks of life come together in person to heal through dialogue and reflection. She is a spoken word poet, mental health advocate, a certified life coach, and she empowers women to overcome adversity and reclaim their narratives. She amplifies the voices of the unheard, blending faith, poetry, and lived experiences to uplift others. Her faith-based ebook, Unleash Your Story, Sis, encourages women to find strength in their journeys through poetry, prayer, and her story, STORY framework. Charmaine has recently completed her Bachelor's of Arts in Communication and Media at CUNY School for Professional Studies. Grounded in faith and fueled by passion, she continues to use her voice to ignite change, foster healing, and build community one step at a time. Charmaine, give yourself a round of applause because I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just think that you
Wow.
deserve it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mia. It's always interesting to hear your bio. Nervous writing it and all of that, but so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Of course, of course. So yes, Miss BK, born and raised. I do want to start at the very beginning, with your, upbringing, right?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up and how was that? You know, let's just start there. Who is Charmaine, from the beginning?
Love it. So Brooklyn native. I grew up actually downtown Brooklyn, which is some people will say Clinton Hill. If you from New York City, you know Atlantic Terminal Mall and Circuit City. Before there was Barclays, I literally grew up like down the street on Carlton and Atlantic Avenue.
Mm, mm,
So I spent most of my childhood all the way up until I was like 19, and then I moved to Bed-Stuy, where I currently reside, Brooklyn, New York. I went to school in Brooklyn, right? So from Head Start programming, I am a Head Start baby, so I had the opportunity of being able to be a child in early childhood education. And so
mm.
that really gave my life a kickstart, like on community and diversity and being in the classroom. And, the thing about Head Start programs, they have opportunities for, children to express their creativity. So I was able at a young age to be like, I want to be in the kitchen area. I think I want to be with the blocks. I think I want to do story time. and it allowed me to do that. I then went on to PS 11, public school 11, which is over there by like Adelphi. I went to MS Middle School 571, which is also connected to PS 9, which is right there on Underhill. Okay, so I was just, all in that area.
Mhm,
I have
mhm.
friends all over Brooklyn, right? East New York, Clinton Hill, right? Crown Heights, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy. And so, yeah, just growing up in New York City and being able to at a young age kind of express that creativity, being a church kid too. So I am a church kid, like out the belly, right?
Okay, okay. You're born in church. You're born in the
Right.
baptismal pool.
Uh-huh.
Let me call it that.
Just right out, just came out on the pew right there. So, and I grew up Church of God in Christ. And yeah, I spent most of my life again in church. I was a Sunday school secretary for a few years. My
Mm,
dad was a Sunday school superintendent. So
mm.
I was in Sunday school, YPWW, which is the acronyms for young people, willing workers, right? So
Okay,
I was a
okay.
member.
What was the church? What was it? What you the shout out your church?
My home church is Glorious Temple Deliverance Center, Church of God in Christ, where the bishop is Pastor Willie G. Robinson,
Love
who's
it.
my home pastor. I've also attended a few different ministries in New York City. So again, being able to just experience what it means from what is my connection with God look like without
Mhm.
losing, the essence of who I am, where I come from, and culture. So high school, I went to Cobble Hill American Studies for American Studies, right across the street from Gowanus Projects, which is right down the block from Global
Mm.
Studies, which is in Cobble Hill.
Wow,
Um,
yeah.
and I did college so I started, fun fact, I
Mhm.
started in CUNY. I started in CUNY. I went to
Okay.
Kingsborough
Well, before
Community.
you even get to, well, I wanted to ask you before you even get to college, because
Yes.
this is, since we're focused on high school girls, you know what I mean? How was that high school experience? Because the way that you said it, you know what I mean? Like you went to that school, it was right across the street from Gowanus Projects. How were you able as a young, especially you said, you were a Christian woman, so you got to be set apart, sanctified, and I know in the Kojic church, you know what I mean, like they set apart. So how were you able to navigate high school successfully?
I struggled, first off. I struggled through high school. I grew up, a lot of people don't know this about me. I grew up in the projects, right? So being across the street from the projects or anything concerning like the hood wasn't like, I was so used to that coming and going and outside, going from your apartment to the mall, right? But I really loved school because it was an outlet for me. Like you said, church was church. I wore a lot of hats at a young age. So I was always hands on deck. So it's kind of interesting that I ended up being a labor organizer, but I always loved to give back. But school was the place where I can like let my hair down. So I was like
Mm.
in everything, hip hop club.
Uh,
I became an intern for one of the nonprofits that was in my school called Leadership. I'm gonna get the full name, but it was called Leadership Academy, I believe, or something like that. And I had two mentors. Their names is Kristen, Christina. Shout out to them. And they came in and facilitated all of these creative programs, Nia, in high school. So
mm,
for me, I had my church friends. I had, a place where I can build a faith-based community, but I also had places where I can creatively express myself, rather that was through poetry or art or cheerleading or music or just sitting in and volunteering and being the person to bring the snacks. So I always loved the socialness of high school, so it helped me a lot. The reason why I say I struggled is because at a very young age, I struggled with depression. I struggled with
mm,
depression. It
mm.
was so hard, Mia, for people to believe me because I was always moving and shaking, right? And I
Yep.
always wanted to help. And I think there are stigmas concerning what mental health looks like, or, people kind of say, well, you don't look sad, or, if you're
Mm,
sad, how can you function and do that?
right.
So I think I struggled with being able to articulate and say like, yes, I love the fact that I can have fun with my friends and serve, but also, right, I'm going through this mental anguish, right, and
Mm,
pain. At a young age, I was in therapy.
mm,
A lot of my writing began to turn. So, like personal narratives, which was a thing
mm.
in high school, right? In English classes, they always wanted you to get in your feelings. And I was for it. I was here for it because, like I said, it was a space where everybody was going through stuff and everybody was talking about it.
Mm,
Um, I grew up where that wasn't always the case, right?
mm, mhm,
It was a lot of stigma and shame around mental health.
mhm,
So again, with therapy and just continuing to stay engaged really helped me to combat some of those negative and limited feelings I was and negative thought life, right?
mm,
Um, and then building that community and having mentors that weren't that much older than me, right, but come in, they're not connected to the school, but they're contracted with the school, so they have like this distance, right, where you
mhm.
can kind of develop more maybe of an authentic relationship depending on the setting. So I was very grateful for that, Mia.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, that's really, I believe, like people that spoke to me too. Granted, I loved, my teachers and things like that. And, you know, but I know that they had a lot on their plates, right?
Yeah.
New York City Department of Education, there's a lot of requirements. There's a reason why, it's one of the top, educational systems in the country. And there's just a lot of like, requirements that they have to do. But it feels like, when you have mentors from outside of the school system, they're able to kind of, do a little bit more with young women. And listen, I grew up in pink houses. So listen, I feel you on the grew up in the projects, you know what I mean? Like, so
Period.
you understand how to, navigate both worlds, in the church and in the, grew up in CCC. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, definitely, like, yeah. So like, I mean, granted, like when I say grow up, it wasn't birth.
Right.
Went to Catholic church and did some things there. But, at about 13, that's when I started going to like CCC and, but yeah, so just saying, I feel you on like so much of this. And, thank you for sharing about, your mental health issues and being honest about that and, how you were able to go to therapy. I mean, thank God you even, like had the ability to, go to therapy, when you were in high
But
school.
it was
And
those programs, like you said, that introduced that.
mm, that's good. That's good. That's what I love. And that's why we need them. That's why we need programs like, like the one that you went to and, things like that. So was that called leadership? Like, do you remember the name of those programs or was that the leadership?
Yeah, it was I believe it was called like Leadership Academy. So
Okay.
they
Okay.
came basically the essence of the nonprofit. They came in and brought in like extracurricular activities because at that time I graduated from high school around 2011. So from 20, 8 and 20, you know what I mean? Like I was in high school and a lot of the funding was under attack. And so you
Mm-hmm.
saw the sort of like pushing back teachers, advocates, the PTA pushing back, and they were one of the programs that I was able to be a part of, and they brought in hip hop, drama, cheerleading, poetry. We had showcases. So when people see me on stage or they see me engage with people, like this is from having to do recitals in church, like and getting a week notice, and also
Uh-huh.
sitting up on stage and like being in the midst and seeing the different roles that people are playing and catching on quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That really helped me with stage fright. So yeah, and then it kicked off my spoken word journey, my spoken word
Mm-hmm.
poetry journey. We'll get to that, but yeah. So it's
Yeah,
it's really
I love that. So how did, high school prepare you for college? And who prepared you for college?
so I was also engaged with a lot of college prep, which was so interesting because it took me about like a decade to 15-year journey to finish. um, with my bachelor's, but yeah, I was engaged with college prep. I was one of the leaders to help my peers in high school get ready for college, to apply for college, encourage them to go to the guidance counselor. I sat in on certain like financial aid sessions, like the guidance counselor helping. Um, so yeah, I was always really excited about college. I went to a really good high school that prepared us. They prepared our parents. They had orientations. It was a really good school. I selected all CUNY schools. Actually, no, I didn't. I think I wanted to go to Amsterdam College. We had like a college trip. Was my first time actually
Mm,
on a college campus. Was Amsterdam College,
mm,
and we stayed there like for a 3 day weekend, right? And it was a
nice.
part of the prep program, and we stayed there to get the experience, to bring the information back to our peers, and it was different high schools there, and it was again another opportunity for me to engage with different cultures,
Okay.
young people from other states, right? And it was really, really cool. Also, at that 3 day weekend, they had like a creative showcase where people can like get on the mic, right? And I did poetry. So it was like
I
really
love
cool. When I migrated into and then I got accepted to Kingsborough College, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go there. I did want to go away though, Mia. I really did. I wanted to be the college
it.
girl at campus.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I was just like, I really feel like God allowed CUNY to be the step, because I don't know if I was ready for that at the time.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Oof.
So yeah, it's okay.
Phones are silent. I gotta tell myself. But
No, it's fine.
okay, go ahead. Okay. Oof. Why is my phone not silent? Okay. Uh,
Okay.
and back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I ended up I forgot the question you were asking about.
How did high school prepare you for college? That was like the
Yeah. So college prep, I was engaged in all of that. End up going to Kingsborough College, and I was saying I feel like God allowed it to be CUNY because at that time that's what I can mentally handle. Um,
hmm
yeah, and so I ended up going to Kingsborough Community College for a little bit. Yeah, and then we'll talk about the rest of my college journey. But I ended up going to NIAC for a little bit because I was like, I think I want to do seminary. And then I ended up graduating at CUNY. Well, graduating in CUNY at CUNY in May, but finished with all my courses.
right, which is amazing because everybody, there's young people, that I speak to today. They're like, you know what, well, I don't even want to go to college right now, right after high school. You know what I mean? They're like, they want to go to the military, and you know what I mean, they just have different paths. So I love that your story is different. Like, you didn't just, you went to Kingsborough, but let me know, like, how did you get from that in I'm not sure. You said you graduated in 2011, so that was 2011, and I know you just got your degree in, like, 2024, was it? So how was that? Let's take it from the lens, because I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but let's take it. How did you grow
Yeah,
through your non-traditional, let's say, college journey?
I love that. Thank you for asking that question. I was working the whole time. I was working the whole time, so I had to. There was times I had to take breaks, and it wasn't every time I took a break, Mia, I fell into a depression because
Mhm,
again, I
mhm,
was so involved
mhm,
in high school.
mhm,
It was devastating for me to not feel like I can handle college because I'm like, I'm smart, right? Like why can't, but I struggled through, my early 20s,
mhm,
heavily again with depression, anxiety. There
mhm,
was some traumatic experiences that took place that
mhm,
kind of forced me to take a break from school. But I think my greatest lesson through all of that, and now being able to graduate in May 2025 with my BA in communication and media, is to give myself compassion. Because, like you said, I didn't know in my early 20s and straight out of high school, everyone's story was different. Like I knew that because I was always around diversity, but I didn't really know how to embrace that, right? I had my mindset on what I thought my life was going to be based on all of these things I was involved in and all of the community service, and I'm like, oh, we get ready to take off. But I think I had to give myself the compassion and get the support I needed through therapy. There was times I took breaks in my therapy, but ultimately I learned that as long as I'm taking care of me, that is the start and the foundation of anything that I'm dreaming, anything that I want to complete, anything that's on my agenda. It first starts with self love, self compassion, and checking in with myself. And when I first started college, I didn't know how to do that. I was on go. I was on go. I was juggling a relationship. I was a lover girl. It was a lot going on. Okay. You had some relationships in between that. You had some failed friendships in between that. And I had to
Mm,
mature. I had to realize that you have to get out of this fixated box of how you feel like your life should go and learn to surrender to God. And out of nowhere in 2023 summer, God whispered to me, like, you need to go back to school and just finish your media degree. I always wanted to do it, Nia.
mm,
And I do it, right? I'm like 29. Like, what? I'm not gonna go away to college. Like, it's okay. I'm a labor organizer. I'm kind of situated, 401k popped in pension. I don't gotta worry about. And God was like, no, this is your dream. Remember, the lesson is to take care of you first, to do what I purpose you to do. And you got to check in with yourself in every season to know what I'm saying to you. And so
mm.
I blindly obeyed God and went back and I finished in like 3 or 4 semesters. And it was these couple of last semesters were my greatest. I was on the dean's
Mhm.
list twice. Never been on the dean's list, Mia.
Come
Never been
on,
on the dean's
somebody.
list.
That deserves a round of applause. I wish I had sound effects. uh,
Okay, and was able to do it virtually and juggle that with my career. And I had to have hard conversations. I had to set boundaries because when
yes.
I started back school, everybody was used to me popping up here and there, and that had to slow down because my priorities have shifted, and God was dealing with me in a different way about my dreams and my purpose and my identity. And I felt an obligation to move on that, Mia, right? Like when God speaks to you, it's an obligation to move on that, even if you're afraid. And I was like,
Mm,
God, I'm scared. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with the show, right? Like, but I jumped, and I'm so glad I did because it taught
mm,
me that you really can't go nowhere without self love, right?
yes.
Because you have to understand no one can give you the love that you can give yourself, and any other space that you in is an addition or an attraction to the love you give first
Mm,
to yourself.
mm.
So
I love that. I love that. Okay. I just have a couple more questions. So, who was one woman that inspired you to grow? And I would say, particularly, as a young woman, or it could be in your older woman years too. But who's one woman that you want to, just highlight that, something that she did, maybe even advice that she gave you that helped you to grow.
absolutely. So I have here, which is a plaque I received in high school when I graduated high school, and this woman, Miriam Perez, was my English 10th grade teacher. She was the one that took me to my first like spoken word poetry slam where we had to compete with other schools at the Eureka Poetry Cafe. And she passed away maybe like a year after.
Oh,
I started to really engage in spoken word poetry and like getting familiar with the stage. And she is the woman that inspired me. She was like the first, like not the all of my English teachers, let's be exact. Shout out Miss White. Miss Hernandez, right? All of my English, I had really great English teachers and professors. But this was the start of like this creative expression journey. And she taught me so much about like pushing through. There was times in my writing that I would like hide, and she had this way of seeing me like hide in my writing and just try to say the politically correct thing. And we would be like stapling the bulletin board after school because I would stay with her and help and kind of just talk and get to know her because I was inspired by Black women educators my whole life. Okay, my whole life. Okay, it's been a big deal. So I would just spend time with her and like stay extra after school, and she would like challenge me like, did you really think about that personal narrative? Like, how do you feel about it now? Like, it's been a couple of days, or it's been a couple of hours. Like, you should take a look at that piece again. Like, just little gentle reminders, nothing too forceful, but just in her own way, she knew how to encourage me, and she always reminded me that I had something to say. Um, and I think with growing up, in Brooklyn and New York, it's so many voices, there's so many sounds, there's so many perspectives. Everyone's always talking and going, and sometimes you can lose your voice in all of that, or feel like you don't have a voice and all of that. And she always just reminded me that I had a unique story, and that just always stuck with me. Like, she just planted so many different seeds on how just even the way I perform, the way I, pronounce words. She was an avid reader. So she encouraged books. Um, very pro-black, right? Had beautiful locks. It was the first time I was able to really see the versatility of even locks, back at that time. So I would say Miss Perez and just my English teachers in general, the educators in my life, literally from elementary school to college, have really helped me, right? To see that these are the different ways that you can articulate your story through academics, through storytelling, through coaching, through right volunteering. So I would say Miss Perez is like, she's with me forever.
Um,
So yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay. And then I just feel like I know I can ask you like a million questions, but I just kind of want to, start to wind down. But you know, um, I want to ask, what do you think is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset? And like, you know, because we're talking about growth, right? And I think that mindset, of course, what I mean, is important to that. So I guess I just want to know, like, how did you adapt? Because you have a growth mindset. You believe that you can do this. You're not stuck in a way like, no, I can't do this. I can't do that. You're in a growth mindset. So, you know, I guess, can you just speak a little bit about, how a growth mindset has helped you to, be more confident and achieve, your goals.
I love that, Mia. Oh my God, these questions. Okay. Oh yeah. For me, um, uh, my fixed mindset was the foundation of that was based in control and trying to keep up. I think because I'm a preacher's kid, and I grew up with protocol and structure, and like, so I think for me, I had to learn to surrender the idea of my purpose that God has, and I had to allow myself to get to know God a little bit more and God's attributes, to understand that it's not limited to just my mindset or my experiences that I've had, right? With a growth mindset and being able to do the thing even when you're afraid, right?
Mm,
Really has allowed me to see God's promises unravel for my life. But I
mm,
had to take the risk to say, I'm going to release my control. So 25 comes around. I had in my mind I was going to be done with college, right?
mm,
30 comes around. I have in my mind 20 comes around. I haven't, and in all of those spaces, I had to grow and
yes.
say, this doesn't look like what I thought it would look like. But God, what are you saying about this space in my life? And it wasn't always easy. There was times I was kicking and biting going to God in prayer or
Mm,
worship, or mad at him for months because I'm like, what are you doing? Right? This looks nothing like, I didn't pray about this. What is but yeah, I would say that's the difference for me, is just a fixated mindset is, control. On this day, I got to do this. And there's nothing wrong with setting goals, right? And structure, because that keeps my life going, especially as a person that wears a lot of hats, but just also being open to pivot. A lot of my life requires me to, change can happen at any time, right? As an organizer. So you get used to that. At church, right? Anything can happen when you're working in ministry, right? At school, when you're helping and you're volunteering, anything can happen. So you have to be prepared for that. And I think that's helped me with my growth mindset, is seeing that, no, Charmaine, you've been in all these these spaces for a reason. What did you learn? So I had to
okay.
do a lot of reflection and therapy, Mia, to
Mm,
help me get to this place. I did not get here overnight, right?
yes.
Like, yeah, I had to do a lot of things afraid. I had to do a lot of things that I thought I passed the age limit for in my own
Mm,
mind, right? Like, who
wow.
told you at 25 you got to be married. Who told you about 30 you got to be? So it really took me challenging some even mindsets that I've put on myself, things that I've
Mm,
created about how my life can be without even consulting God. It was just something I wanted to do and really learn how to surrender. And I'm still surrendering to God. What does growth look like in this season? Because for
mm,
some, it's like growth is rest. For some season, growth is just like prayer. Like right now is Lenten season, right? We're consecrating, and that's growth for me, right? It may not seem like that, but for me, that's a huge thing to make sure that I'm connected spiritually in this season to what God is doing in this season right now. So yeah,
mm,
I would say that's the difference. Just releasing control and trusting that you have everything you need and
mm,
everything you go through has prepared you for everything you will go through.
mm.
So
I love that. Everything that you went through has prepared you for everything you will go through and everything you will grow through. Let's get it. Okay.
oh, yeah. Don't start me up when we get an open mic session.
You're a poet like you know what I'm saying?
Come on, writer poet.
Okay, this is what I always like to end with, pretty much is what's one piece of advice that you would give your 16-year-old self?
Love the way you love. Love the
Okay.
way you love. I think it took me a long time to accept the way I'm wired, right? Like, I there were seasons I was bullied for being optimistic or bullied for being a team player, right? Or like she always got to be the one to go along with the why we can't, and I've also been the one to be like, I'm not going along with the program, right? Or I'm not standing for that. So I would say to really trust myself and to trust that everything that I'm deciding to be a part of and to prioritize is purposeful, right? And that I have everything I need. And most importantly, I have God and community. And I've always had that. And God always made sure of that. And so yeah, I would tell myself to embrace the way you love. Embrace the way you love God. Because at 16, again, I had this real deep love for community and spirituality and the spiritual world and miracles and healing. And so I always shied away from that part of me because it wasn't status quo or it wasn't always like sometimes the cool thing, right? To say let's have a conversation or let's come together as people and talk about this. But I would tell myself don't change that.
I love
In your
that.
life because it's
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna let you get out of here, but before I do, please tell people, where they can follow you, how they can support you, how they can support the Charmaine Show. Give us everything.
Yes, thank you so much, Mia, for this opportunity and Brown Girls Glow. I appreciate it. Y'all can follow me on Instagram at the dot Charmaine Show. I'm also going to be migrating back onto YouTube where I started in 2021. But again, been working full time, figuring out school, but we're back. So please stay tuned on the Instagram page. Or you can visit my website, www.charmainepage.com. I'll be having some updates there as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And shout out to you. We got to have you on again then. You know what I mean? Because we didn't even get into how you became a poet.
It's all right. I'm coming back. I'm
Yeah,
coming back, Mia.
okay. Part two, let us know in comments if you want a part two because we're
Come
coming with it
on.
anyway, really, but just what I'm saying, just help us out. Help us out.
This
Awesome.
was
Thank you so much for your
great.
time. And y'all stay tuned. Brown Girls Glow, man. Thank you, Charmaine, for helping us to grow. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Okay, take care, y'all. Bye.